stance. So unlike in the yoga practice, which we typically see the feet together, shoulders drawn back, palms facing forward, the power stance brings in some functional patterns, principles to create a more stable and strong way to stand and hold the skeleton in a more aligned position. So what we'll have you do is take your feet about 2 fist distance apart, and you can come down and measure to do that. Your toes are going to point forward. Now, I want you to lift your toes off the mat, spread the toes as much as you can, and then set them back down on the ground. Then start to press into the outer edges of the feet, just enough to feel the arches subtly lifting. Okay, now you feel energy move up your shins, your knees. And as you look down, I want your pelvis to shift back. Okay, so I'm here, and typically we have our pelvis sitting forward, and we want the pelvis to now shift back so I can see the tops of my feet. Next piece is the tilting of the pelvis. So either we sit in an anterior or a posterior pelvic tilt. Either way, both are misaligned. We want that pelvis, which is like a bowl, to stay level. So if it holds the element of water, the second chakra, the feminine energy, we don't want that energy to be spilled out in the front or dumped out in the back. So what we'll do from here, as we shift the pelvis back, making sure the heart stays in front of the hips, we're going to give the tailbone a subtle tuck under. That neutralizes the pelvis. The next piece are the bottom ribs, the core engagement. So focusing on bringing those bottom ribs in, it's the knitting or the cinching, or like you're wearing a corset or a belt tied around your ribs, and they're pulling inward. I like to move from the bottom sternum, the xiphoid process, and then pull that back. Now this is great, this gets us into our core and our transverse abdominis, not the lower abs, but the deeper muscles of the core that stabilize the pelvis and the lower spine. Now, typically, again, we've seen in the shoulder yoga practice, the shoulder blades are pushing back, and you can see clearly on me, my heart chakra. If I pull my shoulder blades back, I'm closing off the heart. Not to mention that the scapula has a curvature to it, and it naturally wants to rest around the rib cage in a slightly curled and rounded forward position. So anytime the shoulder blades pull back, we're putting our skeletal system in a misaligned place. And you can see, when my shoulders pull back, I lose the engagement of the transverse abs and dump into the lower thoracic and lumbar spine. So the trick to this now is getting the serratus anterior, and the latissimus dorsi to engage in a way that keeps us from inwardly rotating the arm bones, and this is the trick. So we have the feet, the hips, pelvis, ribs pulled in. So naturally the hands don't want to be resting behind our sides. The hands will come forward slightly. Because what we're doing here now is we're taking the shoulder blades and getting them to hug the rib cage. And we're doing that without taking the arm bones and rotating them inward. We're still maintaining external rotation of the arm bone while bringing the scapulas into protraction, hugging around the rib cage, engaging the serratus anterior and the latissimus dorsi. So think about your wings. You have wings on your back. Get those wings to spread. Now naturally that will bring my arms a little bit higher. We're not holding the hands up here, but we're also not trying to squeeze them by our sides. It's not a natural position for them to be in. The arms naturally want to be here. And then when I flare my lats, engage the transverse abs, I can now bring the hands and allow the hands to come forward slightly, which is the natural position for the skeletal system. Next, now we want to get some length of space. So as I'm here, I'm avoiding any rounding to my shoulders and my back. So to avoid that, I'm going to rotate the arm bones outward and then get extension through the spine, through the vertebrae. Extension, but not back bend extension. Just upright, because naturally the tendency will be to roll forward to get the shoulder blades to wrap. Now I've got to extend my spine from there, and then I go into this movement where I clear out any tension in my traps and in my neck. So I engage the transverse abs, I engage the lats and the serratus, and then I grow tall through the spine, all while pressing to the outer edges of the feet, hugging through the inner thighs. The inner thigh squeeze, I say like you're riding a very skinny horse. You're hugging from the groin muscles. Again, you've got the lat spread, and this is also going to expand. So instead of the shoulders contracting and decreasing the space in the collarbones, I'm going to get big in my pecs and my lats, and then lengthen the neck, removing the tension in the traps. and now I've got this power stance, and I can hold my frame, and I can contain and command my presence in my space. So this is your power stance, different than what we see in yoga, because now we are more aligned in the entire skeletal system, while also strengthening the muscles of the core. So this is it. Now when in this position, you will engage bandhas, Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha, Jalandhara Bandha, and you can create your Ujjayi Pranayama for those yogis out there. Alright, this is a stance that we practice everywhere we go, so it's not just a practice of doing the stance, it's living and being in the stance in everything that we do. I hope that's helpful.